Episode number 74, Making a Case. Is dating just about the transaction now? Let's get it.
Everything that you can get from another person in a relationship has a transacted value and can be bought. That doesn't necessarily mean bought with money, but it can mean that. You can buy sex. You can buy companionship. You can buy emotional support, childcare, and home-cooked meals. You can even buy children through adoption or surrogacy. You can buy everything that can be transacted in a human relationship. However, you can't buy love. And that is because, paradoxically, love is valueless. Valueless in the sense that it is free, and valueless in the sense that it cannot be bought at any price. On the other hand, if you want love, you don't need a relationship. Why? Listen carefully. If love is wanting the best for the loved one, you can only reasonably want a relationship with the loved one if a relationship with you is literally the best possible thing for the loved one. And let's be real, it probably isn't. Everything that you can get.
Hey, what up, YouTube? It's your boy, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, consultant, father, a little bit of everything. Back at you with another episode of Making a Case. We on episode 74, and of course, I got another great one for you today. Transactional relationships. That's what we're talking about. As you saw with the video that I just showed you, I want to begin with that because it really sets the tone and the mood for the rest of the episode. All right. So I thought he broke it down as quick as you can really break down what we mean when we say transactional relationships, which i.e. means transactional dating. So we're talking about the fact that I do something for you, you do something for me. It doesn't always have to be 50-50, but I got to see some type of value. Relationships are value-based, right? Now, we know that relationships that you have with your relatives are not necessarily transactional or value-based, although they can be. And a lot of time, depending on how much time you spend with them, it will be based off value and transaction. But just being a blood relative a lot of times is enough for most people. But for those of us that meet strangers or meet people that we never know, we know that most times we have to be able to see the value in you, to be around you, to really want to spend time with you. And it's transaction based, right? But the part I really want to address and talk about, by the way, we're getting into our opening statement. I apologize. But before I move any further, of course, I once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We got to go over our two channel norms. One, we attack points in our people. And then two, we don't do all the cussing, derogatory stuff because we're professional over here. All right. So let's get back into it. So the part in the video that I really want to address is the fact that he said love is priceless, right? Now, many of us probably know that, but we don't think about it in the grand scheme when it comes to relationships and how really it's not love. At least this is my opinion nowadays, that is really affecting us, right? It is the transactional part of relationships that are leading people to break up, heading to divorce, etc. Right? Because at the end of the day, your love doesn't mean anything if it's hard for you to keep them lights on. Your love don't mean anything if it's hard to keep food in your mouth, right? So the transactional value piece and part of a relationship is top tier. It's the most important thing, right? Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? And it's exactly why. And as he mentioned in the video, it's like, well, you can have love without having a relationship, right? You can have sex without having a relationship. You could do all those things that you enjoy doing without having marriage. And I think this is the tipping point of where we are now when it comes to dating and marriage and just long-term and short-term strategies, right? It's the fact that, well, I can be satisfied, happy, whatever, and I don't need relationship and marriage to do that. Okay. That's why you see these alternative styles of not only living, but also when it comes to relationships. All right. But the focus and dialogue for this video is to talk about how transactional dating really is. And I heard something the other day that a perspective that I never heard before when it comes to dating, which is this. Well, when you look at dating, dating has kind of always been transactional and has kind of always been for the intended purpose to have casual sex. And when I heard that, I was like, and actually, I heard it from somebody on Lapeef Network. Shout out to Lapeef Network; they're doing big things. And I can't remember the guy who said it. I'm sorry because I really want to credit you. But it was a fabulous point because when we really think of it, that's where casual dating really comes from. That's where the hookup culture really comes from, right? Because I hear Anton Daniels say it all the time, and shout out to him as well. Like, when you looking for a spouse, you don't date. And now I finally get why he really says that, because really dating is for hooking up, right? When you looking for someone to marry, no, you say, hey, that's the woman I want to marry. And then you court and you take the steps and to get to that point, be around family, talk to the dad, depending on what culture, diary, and all that good stuff, right? So we have to get back to that because right now, when we look at dating, we're looking at something that is short term. Dating is short term, right? So we have to get back to a courting process. We have to get back to genuine dialogue, genuine understanding with intentional decision making. We have to get back to that if we're going to change anything because really, we shouldn't be talking about a dating culture. We should be talking about a courting and mating culture. All right. So without further ado, man, I got a couple of different pieces of evidence for you, some videos, some text, that, we're gonna make the case on that, dating is pretty much transactional now and really kind of always have been. All right. So without further ado, let's get into our first piece of evidence. All right, so here's my first piece of evidence. Now, I wanted to bring some text, some literature to you, to make my case because I believe the visuals, where the literature, both of them are just as important, right? Um, so I found an article from Very Well Mind, which I believe we've used this platform before, to kind of make my case on why relationships are transactional and really why they kind of always been transactional, whether it's dating or anything, right? Just relationships in general. And this is called transactional relationships, the link between reciprocity and connection, because I'm one that believes that all relationships should be based on reciprocity, right? Now, we know, of course, if you've been following this channel, there's no such thing as equality. Nothing would ever be equal. But what we have to do, we have to have a baseline level of effort from both parties. All right. So let's get into this and see what we agree with, disagree with. A transactional relationship is one where each person does things for the other, expecting to get something in return. It gives and takes with a bit of quid pro quo. Each person is willing to help the other out as long as a favor is returned immediately or sometime down the line, right? We're talking about reciprocity now. Transactional relationships are inevitable and often necessary component of society, explained Nicholas Ferlenza, PhD, a licensed psychologist. There is practicality and clear boundaries to this kind of relationship, which are needed in business and other professional contexts, he says. It is also not unusual for more casual social connections to have a transactional nature. Absolutely. Friendships have transactional natures, romantic relationships, definitely business relationships, of course. So all relationships are transactional, right? Now, once you start getting into the romantic realm and feelings are involved and expectations, and that's what it really is. It's the expectation that really change things when it comes to a transactional relationship. That's when you start seeing a gray area. So, uh, a transactional relationship can be defined as one where each person does things for the other because they anticipate getting something in return. This type of give and take arrangement is intended to benefit each person involved. Such relationships are based on mutual reciprocity. Now, the key word is mutual. All right. But nowadays, when it comes to dating, what you see a lot of time is that the women are going to have expectations and are going to want things done for them and don't necessarily want to reciprocate, which is typically the problem with dating, right? When it comes to dating, there is no such thing as quality. But when it comes to earning potential and other factors like that, all of a sudden equality is brought to the table. Funny how that works, right? People are naturally inclined to reciprocate in social relationships. I agree. But a transactional arrangement adds a layer of formality and expectation. Unlike other types of relationship where people do nice things for each other out of care, concern, or empathy, the primary motivation of a transactional relationship is to receive a reward. And I think you can really see, really in the beginning, in my opinion, if someone is more so transactional versus looking to kind of care for you, get to know you, and things of that nature. And of course, eventually it becomes transactional, right? The people that we call gold diggers and stuff like that, or prostitutes or sex workers or whatever you want to call it, those people are transactional based, right? So anybody that leads with the transaction, you know they're not being genuine. Let's keep on reading. Let's see. Where did I stop? Let's see. I want to get to all right, pros and cons of transactional relationships. So potential advantages. There's a mutual give and take. Each person gives something to the relationship and each person gets something. Depending on the context, this is often a win-win for both. I say for that situation, that is how you do keep a long-term relationship. If you don't see that person giving effort and really trying to make things easier for you and vice versa for the other person, then that's a short-term situation, right? For the long term, you got to be able to give and take. All right. Ping pong, if you will. Expectations tend to be clear. Instead of wondering if the other person will ever come through, these type of relationships tend to have clear expectations regarding who gets what and when. This I can look at this also when it comes to gender role, right? You know your role, I know my role, give and take. Such relationship can be efficient and productive because everyone is clear on their role and what's expected of them. As I was just mentioning, they can often work with greater efficiency instead of focusing on each on other distractions. They can concentrate on fulfilling their duty. Absolutely, when roles are clearly defined, and this goes in the work world or in the personal world, when roles are clearly defined, it does make things more efficient and less headache. They help support goal attainment. By their nature, transactional relationships are centered on achieving certain goals because the relationship helps each person get what they want. Now, they talk about potential disadvantages. They can lead to shallow interactions, which is what we're seeing with dating nowadays, right? Because a relationship is rooted in giving something to get something, it can feel like the relationship lacks depth and substance. This is the reason why dating is such a struggle. Why we say dating is so hard nowadays, because it's almost purely transactional. People might feel undervalued. I wonder which sex typically feel undervalued in a dating situation because there's always an expectation financially for one side. If one person in a relationship feels they aren't appreciated or valued, they might be left feeling like they're being used. Now, I would say in my own experience, in almost every single relationship I've been in, eventually at some point, that's how I start feeling. Such relationships are often short sighted. Transactional relationships sometimes tend to focus on immediate short term gains, which can have a negative impact on loyalty and commitment. Oh my God. Is this not describing the dating culture nowadays? Right? So, all these disadvantages that they're talking about, and we're going to stop it right there because I just think that's a great place to stop it. All the disadvantages they're talking about is clearly what is going on when it comes to dating, right? Short term, you seem like if people don't care, things of that nature, like that is the nature of dating. It's purely transactional. Now, clearly what I'm saying is, and I think we've already get to the point where we're saying relationships in general are transactional. So we're not saying that relationships aren't transactional. What we're saying is once relationships are purely just transactional, it's going to be hard to develop anything long term, right? And if what I'm already saying is true, that dating is really for hookup culture, short term fun, short term mating, then it plays right along in those same lines. So we're gonna talk a little bit later about kind of how we can kind of, which we kind of already addressed, kind of either not really reverse it, but kind of when you go into the quote unquote dating scene or the market when you're single, how you can kind of look out for certain traps and actually guide yourself toward finding something solid. Because I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of what we say a lot as single men and women, that it's just not a lot of good catches out here. But it's all depending on what you're looking for as well. All right. So that was our first piece of evidence. We're gonna move on to our second piece of evidence and continue to make it a case as why dating is so transactional. Let's get it.
I want you to ask yourself, what are you trying to get out of this? Right? Are you hungry? Or do you want to see if you have chemistry with somebody? Do you want to see, are you looking for your husband? Are you looking for your wife? Or are you looking for somebody to fund you?
Yeah.
Are you looking for somebody just to pay for a meal? Are you just trying to be spontaneous just to go with the flow and see what's out there?
Yeah.
You need to ask yourself these questions, because the coffee dates are the times where you got to show up as you.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no drinks involved. There's no distraction around you. It's literally you, your person, a coffee, maybe a donut, maybe a cookie. It's very, very lighthearted. And if you don't have the personality, if you don't have the communication skills, if you don't have the emotional intelligence to sit in that conversation and have an hour to hour, 30-minute conversation with a person, then there's no point of us going to dinner and being stuck for 2.5 to 3 hours. And we don't have anything to connect with. I want you to ask yourself, what are you trying to get out of this?
All right, so that was my second piece of evidence to kind of further what I've been talking about. How and the thing about it is, a lot of men feel this way. So when you see podcasts and people on social media and stuff like that, and you hear men voicing their opinion, a lot of men feel this way when it comes to dating, right? So of course we've heard the multitude of women talking about how they don't like coffee dates, or they don't take them to the Cheesecake Factory or Applebee's. By the way, I love Applebee's. They got a good selection. And what's even funny is the fact, like, those same women that say that, they'll stop by McDonald's and get a triple cheeseburger. That's the crazy part about it. Anyway, I digress. But when it comes to, and I just have to be real right now, a lot of time when you see women express themselves like that, unfortunately, it's our black women. I just hate to say it. I'm not saying that women of other races don't have similar mentality, which we see it, because really it's a westernized problem more than anything. But like, it's the fact that a lot of women are more focused on what they want in a lifestyle or how things look, versus genuinely trying to get to know somebody, which leads into what my premise is in the first place. It's all transactional, right? So the reason why they was complaining about going on a coffee date or walking apart and things like that, because there's no transaction really going on. It's you and the other person talking, getting to know one another. And it's almost like they really don't want you to get to know them, right? Or they feel like that you should be buying and paying for their time. And I've actually heard this before out of a woman's mouth, which is crazy, right? So you really have to be aware of, it's situational, really. You have to understand, like, how things should be going, which is why we shouldn't be dating. We should be doing more courting, and that's up to the leadership of men. But once that man figure out kind of how that woman roll, unfortunately, a lot of men have to stop talking to a lot of women, right? Because once a man figure out that she has that westernized, that transactional, that what can you do for me mentality, which unfortunately exists in a lot of women, like, you can't wife that up. You can't marry that. You can't even get in a relationship with that, right? Which is typically why you're seeing relationships being so transactional when it comes to money and sex, right? Why you think OnlyFans is so popular, right? Like, I mean, prostitution is legal in a couple of states, pretty much, right? So this is why you're seeing it, because people really are not interested in building, sustaining long-term relationships. It's too much work in it, right? I'm not saying all people, right? Remember, I don't speak in absolutes. But what we're seeing based off our outcomes and based off the numbers, it is difficult for us to sustain long-term relationships. It's almost like we prefer transactional relationships, right? Because we look for immediate gratification so much that our dating lives and our relationships are kind of mirroring that. So, all right. So we're gonna move on to my third piece of evidence. I have two more left, and we're gonna keep making the case of why dating and relationships are so transactional. Let's move on, shall we? All right, so this is my third piece of evidence. We're talking about dating being transactional. And of course, I have an article from one of my favorite platforms ever, which is the Medium, which we use all the time. And we're just talking about transactional dating, right? So it's so much information on this topic because we've been talking about how transactional dating are. Unfortunately, it's almost like we can't do anything to prevent it or stop it. So all we can do is kind of make people aware of it. And unfortunately, even with the awareness, nothing is changing. So this is more of a personal situation where a lady is talking about her experience in the dating market, but I thought it was very eye opening because her experience when it comes to the dating market, unfortunately, is the thinking of a lot of modern women. All right. So let's read it and get into it. All right. Oh, in this season of my life, dating is purely transactional. Walk with me for a second. I'm fully aware of where minds can go and will go following that statement, but I really don't care. This is a personal expression, but I am sharing in the case there are others who feel the same and are unable to articulate their thoughts. I have come to the point where I have decentered dating, sex, and relationships from the core of my life. Dating is now a luxury that my spirit cannot afford to go bankrupt trying to achieve. I can't keep up with the Jones or the Smiths. If it's not meant for me to be in matching pajamas this year, so be it. Right. And even that thought, right? Women literally have in their mind how their relationship, marriage, etc., should go, right? They want to wear matching PJs, they want to go walk in the park, they want this Disney fairy tale, and that's part of the reason why they are struggling as well, because you already have what you want, but the fact is you looking for a leader, which means that it's not going to be about what you want. It's going to be more so about what y'all want and how he leads you in that direction. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Let's continue reading. Uh, when I was working, dating was easy because I didn't depend on the suitor to take care of anything. I was hell bent on providing my own, thus accepting bare minimum food and dick to satisfy my urges. Excuse my language, but I'm just reading it. Okay. My standards were low and I was on a rampage. I had no idea what I really wanted for my dating life. Now, keep in mind the independency thing that she's bringing up, right? Modern Woman 101. Let's keep reading. Then the time came for a complete overhaul. I chose to leave the work setting to explore my own humanity. I needed to purge, detoxify, heal, learn, and grow, and it takes time. I say takes because I still actively pursuing myself and my needs and wants. My needs and wants. Modern day woman, take number two. So because I'm not working, there's only so much in life that I can form. I'm okay with that. I think dating is important to me, but I also have other things of importance on my plate. So because my standards are higher and my esteem of worth are at a healthy but worth, these are key words now. I deserve, is essentially what she's saying. Modern woman, take number three. All right. So when a suitor expresses interest, I ask if he has the expectation of Dutch activities. That's an interesting take. Meaning I need to be able to pay my own way. He says no, which most men say no. Then I proceed to ask him what his intentions are. The reason for that is to make sure we're on the same page. Now, that's not a bad idea when you're going to talk to somebody else, okay? You have to talk about these things, all right? But most men do not mind paying. That's not the problem. Reciprocity is the problem, right? Intentions are the problem. Expectations are the problem. That typically when men and women get themselves into trouble. All right. If he's taking me on a date to get to know me, then simple dates like coffee, lunch, or walk are all acceptable. The time slot is short, so it doesn't require heavy expensive. And it's really to get to know you, right? Like in the beginning, and this is what I preach when you getting to know somebody in the beginning, it should always be cheap dates or no dates. Hey, let's just meet, you know what I'm saying? Get in the car and talk and really get to know each other. Why should the expectation be a man spending money on a woman? Because it's not the same, vice versa. Or is the same expectation for you to have sex if I'm spending money? And this is the problem that we tend to find ourselves in when it comes to dating, which is why we call it the hookup culture, which is why so many people have sex in the beginning, because women do feel pressure to give it up because a man is doing so much. Or they just enjoy having sex, which, to be honest with you, a lot of time is the case. We just got to be real. All right. If he's taking me on a date because he likes me and really wants to spend time with me, that's a funny one. All right. AKA cord, then dates like dinner, museum, concert, or some type of activity are desired. You see how she's making the distinction here, though? She's saying if he really likes me and he want to do this stuff, then, hey, it's required that you do this type of stuff. Expectations. Modern dating tip number 4. It's going to cost more because more time being spent. Free and expensive fun is okay here too, but it has to be hella dope. See? Lifestyle. Luxury. And I don't even think she probably doesn't care, but all these things are red flags to me. If not red, definitely yellow. Pause. If he's dating to have sex with me, that's funny. Of course he is. All men are looking to have sex. Some want it pretty early, some want it eventually, some will wait for a long time, but all men want sex eventually. Then the day requirement is a spa day with shopping and dinner. Do you hear this? I guarantee you she's still single. I'm sorry, I ain't trying to attack her, but I haven't had much sex in the last 2 years by choice, so if he wants me to give it up, he got to go all out. Transactional. So she said, if you want this body, you have to pay this. Indirect prostitution. By the way, which was going to be the title of this video. I switched it up at the last minute. Okay. If he's dating to have sex with me regularly, then it's going to take trips out of the country. Effing me regularly is a luxury, so there's nothing else to say about it. What? Wow. Modern woman tip number 5. Like, women live, and we know that prostitution, sex work, all that stuff is real. We know that. But what we're saying now, particularly with the transactional piece, is that a lot of women are indirectly selling their body because they expect man to do something. So they're saying, I'll give you my body if you do this for me. That's indirect prostitution, if not flat out prostitution. And a lot of women wouldn't admit that, but that's exactly what it is. Let's keep reading this. This is crazy to me. Love making is only for long-term commitment. So he can F you, but love making is... Oh, baby. The reason I have these transactional rules is because I want someone to provide something I'm unable to provide right now in order for me to take time away or make time for me for dating. No, because you can't provide for that self at all. What you mean right now? You want him to do that even if you was making money. When women make money, they want a man making just as much as not more because they want that man to do it and not themselves. Dating is not a requirement, so if someone wants me to make space for them, they have to show up in ways that reduce stress. Again, this is because I do not have to date right now. I'm simply okay with being single and working on myself and go. That's probably what you need to do then, though. Just work on yourself because clearly you got a lot to work on, right? Instead of trying to date and sell your possession. Because for some reason, women think that their private part is way more important than a man's private part. It baffles me. I'm not expecting anyone to do more for me than I have been able to do for myself. Yes, you are. These are all things I've been able to do for myself when I was working, but because I'm in a very personal season, it's going to cost me to be the boss. If he wants my time in a short amount of time, he got to pay for it. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? The only way to sidestep the transaction requirement is to be patient. I see you when I see you. We talk when we talk. We can go to the same events, but leave separately. We can do coffee or tea dates and do Dutch activity, but it'll be few and far in between. Again, because I'm proudly focused on it's that selfishness. Modern woman tip number 6. That selfishness. It's all about me. I'm in my me season. I understand that this sounds like I have so much requirement and have no expression output besides time and sex, but I assure you readers that I bring it. Bring what? I don't boast about my quality and capability because it's hella pick me behavior according to the internet. I'm wondering what those qualities are. And that is also why I didn't list the specifics that I'm looking for in a man besides transaction, because trust, this ain't for just everybody. Okay, that I don't think we need to read anymore because there wasn't that much left anyway. But that she's very toxic. And I hopefully she's changed that mentality, but unfortunately, a lot of women share the same mentality. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I was gonna post this, I didn't, but I just gotta be real. There's a lot of women that think they're more special or more than what they really are. It's a lot of women that men can't stand being in a long-term relationship with because they talk too much, they do too much, they too emotional, right? They can never be happy. Like a lot of women are single, and I'm just finna be real with y'all right now. It's because that they ain't got their stuff together. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We just talked on a previous video. You can't make a woman happy, right? So if she get, because clearly this woman, if she get demons inside her, if she get trauma that she hasn't worked out, a lot of women are single because of that. But they'll make it look like it's the man, right? And they can't find a good man. I digress a little bit, but that just had to be said, man. Like, can stuff like this. So she's aware that she just wants transaction. And whether a lot of women are aware of it or not, it's happening. Okay. And of course, this has impacted dating and the culture and what have you. Of course it has. All right. So let's move on to our last. We're going to wrap things up with our last piece of evidence, man. And I mean, you've already been seeing how transactional dating is. I don't really think I need it, but we're going to do it anyway. So let's get into it.
This entitlement. Oh my goodness, there's so many viral videos.
Entitlement, man.
So many viral. Did you see the girl? And we might have to pull this video up too.
Yeah.
She says,
okay, so y'all, story time. So y'all, please tell me if I'm wrong. So today this dude wrote me on Instagram and he was like, can I send you money? Let me send you money for lunch. So I was like, okay. I wrote him back and I was like, send it. So he wrote me and was like, okay, what's your Cashapp? So I sent him the Cashapp. Yeah, I just knew I was going to open my Cashapp and I was going to have at least probably about $100. You get what I'm saying? Because like this, I eat and that's how much I spend on my food. Yeah, I opened my Cashapp and this man sent me $30. Yeah.
not a guy she's dating.
Oh.
Just a guy that's just trying to say, hey, boom, look what I do for you. Just know that you're on my mind. Here go a little Cashapp, which I like that guy.
Yeah.
Send me a little lunch.
I don't like that guy.
I like that guy. And this entitlement. Oh.
All right, that was my last piece of evidence, man. And of course, why dating so transactional? I mean, I thought all the pieces of evidence were right on the money. And that video was just another example to show you how a lot of modern women are thinking when it comes to dating. And the reason why the focus is on modern women is because they're the ones that have the expectation for what dates should look like, where they should go, how much should be spent, right? Men don't have those expectations, and partly because we are the ones that's usually planning it, and we're the ones that really just don't care about it, right? Like we don't care what we. I think men care more about getting to know that woman to see if that woman's going to be a perfect fit for them versus a woman, right? Women, as the video clip just showed you, is that like if a man gets sent $30, he'd be like, cool, man. It'll be more about the gesture than the amount of money. But unfortunately, what we have nowadays is a lot of people caring about how much something is, how much somebody look like what kind of car somebody in, like how much somebody making a year. All these things are clouding our judgment. It's clouding what we really should be paying attention and looking for when it comes to finding a long-term mate, which is why now I'm really starting to feel like most people are not wanting a long-term situation. As we can see with the divorce rate, as we can see with the marriage rates, right? That we're coming into a cultural shift where people are really just looking to more so be in short-term situations, right? So they can move on to the next person, have fun, but once it starts getting rough, it's like, no, I don't want to deal with this. On to the next one, right? Like it's almost like the last few generations have no type of sacrifice in them. They don't want to go through stuff. Like they so easily moved and swayed and influenced, but yet and still they don't want to fight and work for nothing, man. Like that's where we are now. So yes, if you're a single nowadays, it's going to be tough because unfortunately the mentality is lifestyle. It's transactional. What can you do for me that I can't do for myself or that I am doing for myself? And I just need you to take it to another level. That's where we are with dating right now. And we have to be honest with ourselves because at the end of the day, we all got to look in the mirror and check ourselves, check our own mentality. And this is where, you know what? I ain't even going to do it because I was going to go down another road that I don't need to go down now. I'll save that for another video. But this is where we are currently. And we talk about his pee in the dating pool and all this. We making all these complaints, but we're not changing our mentality. So no, we shouldn't be dating. You shouldn't have 45, 55, 60-year-old people out here on the dating market. It's ridiculous. And a lot of that is because we leaving people for foolish reasons, idiotic reasons, not even good reasons. And we got these high expectations. Anywho, man, hey, we're going to end the episode on that, man, because I can go on for days about this topic, man. Like, it's just, I want to say the future looks bright, but unless we're going to change our mentality and how we move out here, it's not going to be any changing, man. So, now I'm hopeful, but hey, I can only control me and my circle and, you know, what I do. And I'm just trying to put it out there for the masses. So, you know, somebody will get it. So that's all I can hope for. All right. So, hey, once again, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me with this episode, man. Hopefully you gain some kind of knowledge and understanding, man. You already know. Follow me on all my socials. Like, share, comment on the video. If you got any topics you want me to make the case on, I am definitely willing to do that for you. All right. But as always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. And I believe we just made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.